just when you thought it was safe to go onto iTunes. This is Next Level Guy, the only website that makes self-development as fun as going to the movies. It's time to take the red pill and escape the Matrix.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Next Level Guy Show podcast with your host, Ian Dawson-Mackay. Next Level Guy is a men's interview, interest and improvement website where I interview the greats from all industries to help others better their lives. Listen to the experts in their respective fields being quizzed and learn something. Listen, embrace, adapt, use and then improve. If nothing else, I want you to leave this site feeling like you've learned something and become a better man than you were before. Knowledge is an amazing thing, but without actual action, it's just a fact. Learn it, use it, to evolve to become the best version of yourself possible. Today's guest is Sunjeev Prasad, the founder of Street Gentlemen. He helps ambitious men feel more confident by teaching them how to dress well and know what is stylish. As he states himself, the goal is to ultimately make men feel more confident and empowered. Men's styles happens to be the vehicle for achieving the same. When you look great, you feel great. And when you feel great, that translates into performing great, both in the workplace and in your personal life. In this interview, we discuss fashion, style, and how to use both to tap into your true potential in all aspects of your life. But first, a quick word about my affiliate schemes. I've set up some amazing deals, special offers, and discount codes with some amazing companies. To check this out, simply go to www.nextlevelguy.com/affiliates. That's www.nextlevelguy.com/affiliates for further information. If you want to optimize your health, for example, then you need to try Onnit. Use the code NEXTLEVELGUY, that's NEXTLEVELGUY, in the discount code section of the checkout to get 10% off any eligible items in your basket. And there are some great supplements and fitness gear to be had in there. For other affiliates, I'm particularly loving The Way of the Seal book by Commander Mark Devine, who's going to be on a podcast in the next few weeks, Ross Edgley's awesome new book, The World's Fittest Book, and some of the super soft, comfy jeans that I love just lounging around in. They come from Barbell Apparel. If you want to get yourself a pair, use Next Level Guy at the discount code section. Again, that's NEXTLEVELGUY in the discount code section, and again you'll get 10% off on all your orders. For all the free trials, special codes, discounts, listener exclusives and so much more, check out www.nextlevelguy.com/affiliates. That's www.nextlevelguy.com/affiliates. And now let's get to the interview. I hope you had as much fun listening to this one as I did when I was recording. Enjoy. So if we met in a bar, and we had I was asking you over a drink who you were and what you did, what would you say?
So my name is Sunjeev Prasad. I'm the founder of Street Gentlemen. It's a personal image consulting company where I basically teach busy professionals how to dress well and know what's stylish. And the end goal of that is helping them feel more confident and basically be more comfortable in their skin, which came about as a result of my own experience. I was at a point in my early 20s, late teens, when I was battling depression from about 14 till 21 years old, and didn't really have a sense of my own identity. And I remember feeling very forgettable. I think for this first word that comes to mind when I think about that experience, and just not being able to stand out or getting the attention or recognition that I feel like I was capable of achieving. And so over time I started learning how to improve my style, my image, and even my physique. I've been working out for about 12 years now, and all of that's translated into feeling significantly more confident than I ever have in my own skin. And so I basically started the company Street Gentlemen to teach and help men that were feeling the same way that I was feeling get through that sort of I get over that hurdle of of I guess being ignored and not feeling as confident as they possibly could.
No, I mean, I love it, and it's great to hear that you've made that transformation. And I know that feeling of having dealt with depression myself, where you kind of just want to fit in and not be noticed, and it's a horrible place to be. I mean, can you tell me a little bit about your upbringing? You know, have you got brothers and sisters? Have you always felt like that, or were you quite more out there with your fashion choices as a child?
Oh, I definitely played it safer when I was younger. I think my mom has a great sense of style, so that's definitely where I get it from. And my grandpa as well. My grandpa on her side of the family is, he's definitely one of my role models when it comes to dressing well. He's from that era, that Mad Men era when men would wear suits pretty much every day. Traveling was a really big deal in those days. So you'd get suited up and look your best when you're hopping on the plane so yeah, not nearly as casual as we're seeing today, but that's definitely where a lot of my inspiration comes, especially looking back on some of his older pictures. So yeah, it was just me and my brother growing up, but we always had a big family, about 25 first cousins, all sort of spread out throughout the world. And so there's about when we were kids in elementary school, there's 10 of us living in a 4-bedroom house. Which included so the 4 of us, my immediate family, and then I had an aunt, an uncle, my grandparents, actually 2 aunts, I think, as well. And so then that was the whole, way we were brought up with my parents being immigrants from Fiji. They came over and then the culture was always about having that large family around, right? It was sort of like that the village type of mentality that we were coming up with. So it definitely took me some time to, get comfortable and start fitting into the Canadian culture, which is where I was brought up, born and raised here in Calgary, Canada. It was definitely a transition in those early couple of years when I was like 4, 5, 6 years old, just understanding what the sort of the cultural expectations were and how to go about fitting in.
And I mean, could you pinpoint a particular point during your upbringing that made you finally decide you're going to go into the fashion, you're going to start learning about your fashion? Was there I believe there was a story where you felt, people were laughing and joking about what you're wearing, so that motivated you to go on. I mean, was that the turning point for you when you had that incident waiting for was it your uncle at a mall?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct. A really good memory, by the way. So it was, he was visiting from overseas, and I was about 16 or 17 years old at the time when this happened, and it was my duty to take them to the mall that day and show them around. And while I was waiting for them outside one of the stores they were shopping inside of, there was a few older students from my high school walking by, and they were laughing, and I didn't think too much of it initially, and then it took me a few seconds to realize they were actually pointing and laughing at me, and it seemed like it mainly had something to do with the way I was appearing. And if you went to my website and you see the before and after picture on my about page, it's pretty obvious. I was wearing some really baggy gray corduroy pants that were probably 2 or 3 sizes too big, baggy shirts, like a large or an extra large when I'm more like a smaller medium, and my hair was just coated in gel, so it was all gelled and spiked up, and of course going through puberty as well, my complexion was a bit oily and then not the cleanest either. So that was a huge turning point. I would say that was definitely the catalyst in terms of figuring out this side of my life, the style and the fitness side of things, and just finding a way to look better so that I can feel better too, was the goal, as a result of that moment. So I didn't feel that that big blow to my confidence again.
So when you started this sort of journey, we tend to kind of look to, like role models or inspirations. And a lot of us use, like film characters or TV shows to kind of give us we maybe don't know where we want to go in our own life. So we think, oh, he's cool, I'll dress like him.
Right.
So, were there any particular characters that you've seen when you were growing up, or movies and stuff like that, that you started to maybe emulate or dress a bit more like when you were younger?
Oh, that's a great question, actually. There's a few for sure. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the movie Alfie with
With Jude Law?
what's his name? Jude Law. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he was definitely one of them in those early days. And then there's also well, yeah, there's American Gangster, Denzel Washington in that movie.
Ah, a good choice. I like that.
Yeah, I love more so his body language and his self confidence. Of course, like the style was more focused on the 70s, but he's always really well put together, always suited up. And his body language and his self confidence in that movie was huge. And I actually studied the way he walked, the way he carried himself, probably a few dozen times, just observing what he was doing, how his shoulders moving, his pace, all that type of thing, and just found a way to emulate that myself. So I sort of emulate his walk to even today. And then yeah, a few other ones as well. One of my favorite movies is of course Crazy Stupid Love with Ryan Gosling and Steve Carell.
Oh
And
yeah,
Ryan Gosling's character in that movie.
when he throws the shoes over the balcony.
Yeah.
Uh, so, and has that changed as you've got older, or you've got more into the fitness journey? It's and and the fashion journey, obviously. But have you looked at other people, or have you just moved now towards your own kind of style and your own way of portraying yourself to the world?
Yeah, mostly myself. I do still draw inspiration from other guys. For sure, there's a few really big names on Instagram, like the founders of Music of Frere, this new company based out of New York, are definitely some of my role models for sure. And then there's yeah, there's a few. I really like what the guys in London and New York are doing. They always seem like they're sort of they're pushing the pace. They're really setting the bar for what was to be expected in the years to come, and they're essentially setting the trends and pushing the limits. And I think it might have something to do with being in larger cities like those that encourage the creativity and self-expression that allows them to explore their sense of style more like that.
So, this is a question I like to ask everybody. I mean, if you had to define what masculinity is, what makes a good man, a man that, like somebody like yourself would like to portray and emulate and be more like, what would you think it is? Do you think there's certain characteristics? Do you have a kind of checklist in your head that you look to for these guys, or is it more just the way they made you feel and you tried to, like copy the walk and that and portray the confidence? Is there, how have your definition of masculinity and what makes a good man changed as you've gotten older?
Masculinity, it's a great question. I would say, yeah, definitely a man who operates with integrity. I think that's definitely a characteristic of someone who's masculine. And then I'd also say someone who has that an unwavering belief in themselves too. Someone who's masculine is definitely someone who's willing to take risks and put themselves out there, whether that be with their sense of style or maybe launching a new business or even striking up a conversation with a complete stranger. That can be scary at times too, and it takes some courage to be able to work yourself up to do something like that. It's interesting because we're seeing a shift in masculinity. It seems like these days with more and more men talking about it. It seems like there's more of a safe place for guys to gain a deeper understanding of it. And it's actually interesting you mentioned that, because I do have a mastermind group as well that I meet up with every week to 2 weeks, where we actually discuss this exact topic and what we can do to encourage other men to tap into their own masculinity and peel back the layers or the masks that a lot of us are conditioned to wearing over the years, ever since we're kids, right? We're conditioned to act and think and conduct ourselves in certain ways based on what everyone else around us or what society is saying. So masculinity is an interesting thing, and I think we're still learning a lot about it. But I think ultimately it comes down to someone who can carry themselves with that unwavering self belief and is willing to be transparent and peel back those layers and put themselves out there without having to worry what the world would think of them. They just they feel good and they're well intentioned and they put themselves out there fearlessly.
So you mentioned there that you run a mastermind group. I mean, is that something that other people find? And can you give me examples of other people? How do you analyze, masculinity? Is this a case of they write down their feelings and how they view the world, or is there like challenges that they maybe undertake to become more vulnerable, maybe, or open, or like how do they peel back these masks that you mentioned?
Yeah, it's a combination of both of those things where it's an open discussion. There's only about 4 of us right now. We're just sort of in the ground level of developing this this mastermind group where we know ultimately they're looking to take it to workshops and that kind of thing in the future. But basically, it's a safe place where we can discuss whatever it is we're dealing with in that given week or in that given month, and opening it up to the other guys in a way that you're not going to be judged and you can feel safe speaking about it while also digging deeper and having those more meaningful conversations that can help us maybe not necessarily address but find new ways of viewing whatever the situation might be that one of the individuals could be dealing with. So I think there's a combination of ways, but sometimes it is just talking about whatever it's on our mind or what we're looking to achieve as well.
Yeah, because I mean, this is why I like your stuff. You're not just saying wear this because it looks good. You're actually improving the guy. You're peeling back the BS that they've maybe held on to, because as guys, you probably knew this when you were younger. You never talked about fashion and stuff like that. We just got what was functional, a pair of jeans that fitted, threw a t-shirt on, and you kind of fitted in with the boys. You didn't want to stand out. You wanted to fit in and wear the same brands that your peer group were wearing, and you didn't want to be like a man who didn't care and just did their own thing. You wanted to make sure you fitted into the herd. So do you think that's where most men nowadays are going wrong with their fashion and their style, that they're just following cultural norms and that we're not portraying who we truly are?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of what I've seen with my clients is that they know they want to change things. They want to take a different approach to style or feel better about what they're wearing and how they're looking. But what they've been doing is basically playing it safe. And one of those fears that holds a lot of them back is worrying about what other people might think of them when they do start changing things up. It's almost like, it's basically stepping out of that comfort zone, that safety. You're knowing if you're looking a certain way, you're going to fit in with the crowd, and it's just going to make it easier. But a lot of them aren't happy with the way they're looking or the way they're approaching style because it doesn't really suit their personalities, and ultimately it just comes down to playing it safe rather than standing out and being unique.
And do you see, have you got a kind of a general set of reasons that people come to see you, is it quite unique to the person? Do you have guys from the same kind of ethnicity, the same religious beliefs, the same kind of physical stature, or are you finding it's quite different and there's a load of different guys and different shapes and sizes coming to you?
It's generally the same in terms of physique and physical appearance. Yes, generally anywhere between 30 to as high as 60 years old, which has been surprising for me. I didn't think my my target audience would be in that age range. But yeah, 30 to 60 years old. And then they have all been Caucasian males, and usually they're for the most part fairly lean in pretty decent shape or good shape, and they are in more white collar type of professions, whether it be pharmacists, optometrists. I've had a couple engineers as well, even business owners too. And then they come to me for a variety of reasons that sort of fall into the same two major categories, I would say. And those two major categories tend to be either looking to advance their careers or step it up somehow in the workplace, whether it be looking for promotion or just getting noticed and being more respected in that regard, or it applies in their social life. They're looking to improve things there. So some of them come to me either single or recently divorced, and they're tired of not getting noticed, or they're seeing how other guys are getting their a good chunk of the attention when they're out at the bar or just out socializing with friends, and they're interested in having that sort of recognition for themselves as well, and being basically the center of attention, not in a flashy way, but in a way that turns heads and gets them compliments and helps them stand out from the rest of the crowd.
Yeah, I mean, because this is something I always like asking people is there like a general consensus of why they have their customers coming to them? Because I used to always think when I was younger, that you're on your own, that you're the only person who felt like X, or you're the only one who's dealing with Y, or Z. You never thought that there might be 50,000 other people. And my mum used to always say, if you've got a problem, Google it, because 10,000 other people have probably had it, and there's a solution on there as well. And she was right. And I think we as men are kind of brought up to be these pillars and this like statues of masculinity. We're not to ask for help, we're not to show our weakness, we're to just get on with things. And we've struggled to ask for help in that. And I think that's why it's great that there's people like yourself who you're not just taking them on and going, buy that'll fit you. You're actually looking at why they're struggling. Can you give an example of an assumption they've maybe had of why maybe their fashion's holding them back? Why aren't they more concerned about getting a qualification or working on X skill to become better at their job? I mean, why was it their fashion, do you think, they pinpointed as something holding them back?
I would say, yeah, in some cases they've tried other things and it hasn't worked for them, or they've come to the conclusion that they want to make that great first impression when it comes to either like a job interview or asking for that raise, that promotion, or when they're out socializing, they want to the guys that my clients that have reached out to me have all basically come to peace with the idea that they need help, and they tried as much as they can on their own, and they're okay. They're okay with having someone show them the ropes based on other proven results. And I think a lot of it has to do with establishing some credibility and being approachable as well. I like to try to think that I'm approachable when it comes to my content marketing, and also establishing that sense of and knowing that sense that I know what I'm doing as well when it comes to advising men with style, and instead of trying to figure out on their own and waste a bunch of time and even some money, they would much rather come to a professional like myself who can get them from A to B a lot faster than they could on their own.
I mean, just looking at your own style transformation, it's incredible. And every time I've seen a picture of you, you're very dapper, you're very styled and profiled, but you also portray a certain image, like of confidence, that you're happy in your own skin, that, you walk the walk, so to speak. You're not just one of these guys that shells the £500 t-shirt. Oh, you must have this bag because I get a commission on it. You actually seem to genuinely care about your clients, and your content really shows that. So something that I always struggle with is everybody says that fashion is a individual concept. It's how you see the world, how you want to portray yourself. So if a fashion is an individual concept, then why should we care what other people think because they're not us? You know what I mean? Why is fashion and style an important concept for men?
That's a great point. That it is an individual concept, and I think style should be a reflection of your own unique personality. There really isn't a one size fits all approach to it, even though there are certain guidelines that we should stick within. But ultimately, why we should care is that we in the Western world at least is that we live in a culture that operates on snap judgments, essentially, and that comes down to the fight or flight response. And basically, what's happening within the first, I've heard anywhere between a quarter of a second to 7 seconds that we make a snap judgment based on an image or what we see or how a person presents himself. And essentially, what's happening in that split second or that really small window is that you're drawing a conclusion of whether or not you want to associate with this person, and are they going to help you or are they going to harm you? And it comes down to we also have an average of between somewhere to 50 to 60,000 thoughts a day as well. So consciously making those assessments day in and day out would be exhausting. So our mind is basically reacting faster than we can even think about it. So that's really why it comes down to having a great first impression, because it could be the difference between making a sale or not making a sale, or attracting a client or a client considering one of your competitors instead. And it really does come down to basically we're there's just so many overwhelming messages we're receiving on a daily basis. If especially if you take into consideration social media and billboards and advertising and the news and everything, we're surrounded by every second of every day. So snap judgments or making that great first impression is important in terms of opening up doors that may not have been open before.
Yeah, I mean, every time I hear that, about we can make the judgment in such a small amount of time, it's really scary when you think about it. I mean, it's like that sort of thing of, are looks important? Well, yes, because you can have a great personality, but if somebody doesn't fancy you in a club, say, they're not going to come over and speak to you. You have to have something to attract. And it's the same kind of idea, as shallow as it may sound, with clothes. We have to have that look that we fit into the genre. You wouldn't go up to the guy in the tracksuit and think he's going to sell you the top line car. We have this certain image in our head, and we then start looking at signs in the person and the way they hold themselves, etc. But you have to get your foot in the door, so you have to portray a certain image. So. Mm-hmm. Is there such a thing? I read about these wardrobe staples where, every guy must have a grey pair of trousers, brown shoes, a black. If we are trying to stand out and be unique and stuff like that, can we have these wardrobe staples, or is that just going to make us all into clones of each other? I've never really understood how we can have these things and be unique at the same time. Am I going down the wrong road here, do you think?
I would say that's actually a great point. It's a great foundation to start with, having those staples, especially if you're just getting into style and just learning about it and figuring things out and trying to find your own unique sense of it as well. It's the staples are a great place to start, but then once you do become comfortable with with certain brands or a certain type of look, whether it be more of a dressed up business type of look or more of a day-to-day casual look, whatever it might be, whatever suits your lifestyle. Well, once you have a stronger understanding of that, that's when I think the personality comes into play, and you can start experimenting with a few different things in terms of outside of what is considered the staples. The staples, I would say, is definitely a great place to start, but Once you have a a comfortable sense of that, that's when it's time to experiment and try a few different looks. Whether it be using the exact same staple pieces, but maybe in different colors, or trying a different category altogether. Maybe it's something like instead of a navy single-breasted jacket, you're looking at, like right now I'm wearing actually a burgundy single-breasted jacket as well, which I wouldn't consider a staple, but it's definitely a great piece that can complement a lot of the staple pieces that most guys are recommending.
Yeah, I mean, I really like that idea of it. It's it helps you start. It's like a launching pad to get into a position where you can start understanding the concept of style and fashion, and then you can start individually tweaking it and maneuvering it into fitting into who you truly are. And I love how deep and you look at things. You're not just kind of buy 5 of them or 2 of them. You can actually hear the thought that goes into each of your answers, and it's really refreshing to hear, especially for guys, because we really struggle in these areas, and I think we still don't get the service we really need. So that's why I love sites like yourself. So what are things that you think no guy should wear? Is there things that you see and think no, like socks and sandals, or is there things that you just cringe anytime you see it?
That's a big one for sure. I think that's sort of a universal rule. Even sandals in general. I've heard from most women that they're if that's your goal, is to attract more attention from women, it's definitely worth avoiding sandals unless you're sitting on the beach or somewhere poolside. That's a big one for sure. And then I would also consider your skin tone. I think it's one of the major things a lot of guys overlook is so certain colors look better on certain tones than others. In my case, for example, I wouldn't look great in shades of brown, aside from maybe a pair of khakis. There's other guys that maybe a light pink wouldn't look great on a more fair complexion. So that's something to consider too. And then of course fit. That's one of the most important rules. Considering your body shape and how well the clothes sit on your body and your physique. And then another big one I see a lot of, and it seems to be overlooked quite a bit, is the length of pants. A lot of guys out there who aren't paying as much attention to their style as others is it seems like they're either letting their pants just sort of hang, or they're not cuffing it, or they're just not having them hemmed. And for first of all, it doesn't look great when all that fabric is just pooling up on top of your shoes. And then secondly, after that, what tends to happen is that the pant leg drags behind as well. So sometimes it's getting stuck underneath your shoe. And of course, when you're walking out and about in the city, it gets pretty messy, collects a lot of germs and bacteria, and which obviously you don't want to be dragging around your house afterwards. But it also starts to fray as well. So you see a lot of guys with frayed jeans in the back, basically because they haven't taken the time to have them properly hemmed or tailored.
Yeah, I mean, I was just, when you were talking there, I was thinking, yep, done that.
Yeah.
I bought the jeans far too long. I bought because they were on sale. I bought the jeans, and that maybe a size too big, and I just thought, well, I've always bought bootcut jeans, so yep, that's what I have to buy this time. I never really even bothered to check the different styles. I just assumed, yep, I like to go to the gym. I squat a lot. Yeah, I'm never going to fit into anything but bootcut because they've got wider legs. I had very kind of restricted ways of looking at things. So if I found a product or a shop that had a jumper that fitted me, for example, because I'm a weird shape, I'd buy 5 of them in different colors. I didn't really.
Right.
I kind of block purchased things. So I mean, this is why I was really keen to speak to you, because I'm now in a sort of more upmarket job than the one I was in maybe when I first started this podcast. I'm now looking to improve the way I look. I need to to put a bit more effort into, I think, and that's why I like your material. You know, you're tapping into the person as much as the clothes. So how would you start working with me, for example? Like, I'm 6'3", white, you know, Caucasian, quite muscular. Like, I'm a big guy. You know, how would you start me on this journey? Like, say, imagine I was coming to you and I was really struggling, worked in an office. How could I start, like,
Yep.
matching my skin tones and things like that?
So yeah, I would first of all, I always start with a questionnaire, and that questionnaire, the purpose of it is to gain a deeper understanding of your lifestyle. So what does a normal day look like for you?
Well, at the moment, pain, misery, and despair in the office. I mean, we have a certain, because I work in a university. In addition to this, you know, there's a certain kind of stigma with academia. So it's a lot of sitting, dealing with students face to face, dealing with people. So, you know, you're expected to portray the university at a certain level, and there's a lot of like tweed jackets and shirts and ties and things like that. So there's quite a stylist kind of approach to it. You know, they expect you to look good.
Well, yeah, see, you want to come across as professional and trustworthy, and like you, like you care about what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of times it's students are coming to you to feel, and they need that reassurance, you know, that the person they're dealing with is going to just go on and resolve their problems, but you've got to show that you're not a authority figure, but you know, I mean, it's that kind of. I think a lot of guys want to be able to be taken serious at first sight, you know, people to know they're the person to go to. So I mean, how, like, I tend to just wear jumpers because they fit me. Maybe an underarm t-shirt underneath, chinos, and a pair of like dress shoes. How could I start upping this? You know, I've tried getting some tailored shirts and stuff like that, but how do I start individualizing that and really finding out more about myself and taking my fashion down that road?
I would consider, yes. So you mentioned tweed. Tweed's pretty big. So are men wearing full suits at work as well, or is that a bit too much?
You get a lot of it, but it's just now with the summer, it's quite, you know, it's a lot more shirts and stuff at the moment.
Oh, it's pretty hot, yeah.
For Scotland, it's very surprising.
Okay. So is it? I know here in Canada, it's fairly acceptable to wear a pair of jeans or some chinos with a button-up shirt and a blazer and some dress shoes. Is that something that's widely accepted over there, or is that a bit too casual, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do wear that sort of thing. You know, we have a lot of office-based jobs that probably a lot of people just now are nodding their heads saying, yeah, that's the kind of thing we wear in our office.
Right. Well, yeah, something I've considered. If you have a great pair, you know, of fitted jeans, some dark blue, I would say, dark denim, and then I would start experimenting, definitely with some button-up shirts and some dress shoes, and if you really want to step it up, I would, you know, of course, you know, tuck in the shirt, but if you really want to step it up, I would consider adding the blazer as well, as an added sort of element of sophistication to the look. And I know it could be a little bit tricky, especially when it's pretty hot out and it's sunny, and it can get a little bit uncomfortable, but it's definitely a great way to sort of position yourself or to be seen as that authoritative figure in your workplace.
So, like, if I go and I pick up 3 or 4 shirts and 2 jumpers and stuff like that, you know, say I go to the changing rooms, do you have like mantras or like memory aids for your customers and your clients so that when they're trying something on, they can go, okay, it's hanging below here, then that's too long on my shoulders, or, you know, it's, if I can pull this bit of fabric, then it's too large, or, you know, is it a way that we can tell as a kind of almost a visual aid that things fit, or how can we tell that we're buying the right size for ourselves?
Oh yeah. So yeah, when it comes to dress shirts or casual button-ups, I always say you never want the sleeve length to go beyond the base of your palm. That would be the maximum. And then in terms of where the shoulder would sit, you want the seam of the shirt to basically sit on the edge of your shoulder as well. So any further out, it's too big. And then of course any further in, it's going to be too small, and the sleeves are going to be too short. Another thing too I would mention is when it comes to the torso and even the chest sort of area, you want it to be basically comfortably snug is the best way to describe it. So what that means is that it's tapered to your body without restricting your movement, or say every time you raise your arms, it isn't being untucked. And what that does, it basically, what you want to do is create that V-shaped torso, which is the silhouette of broader shoulders coming down to a narrow waist and then straight down into the legs. And the reasoning behind that is they found that this is sort of the most common image associated with the masculine figure. And so yeah, basically you want like the broader shoulders in appearance, coming down into to a slimmer waist and then straight down. And then that's why I think baggy jeans is definitely one or baggy pants in general is definitely a bad idea, and because it ruins or throws off that whole silhouette. It becomes disproportionate.
So, I mean, is this something that guys can do by buying new items? Can we also manipulate the items that we've currently got, or do you think tailoring a bad choice of an item is never going to make it any better? What do we do with the current wardrobe that we've got as we're trying to build in this new look?
Yeah, I think it depends how much alterations you'll need on the current wardrobe, and how I'd say if it's more than 2 or 3 simple alterations, you're probably better off just buying another piece, because of basically a brand new piece anyways, and the tailoring cost of doing all that might outweigh just buying the other piece. But I would, with a lot of my clients, the second step after I've done the questionnaire and understanding their lifestyles and what's been holding them back is actually to audit their wardrobe. So I understand but by that point I have a pretty deep understanding of what their end goal is, and what they currently own that works with that vision that they've established, and being able to get rid of what doesn't. So it is definitely situational, depending on how the guys approached it in the past, but there's always a good chance you can salvage most of your current wardrobe while still shifting or building a brand new wardrobe.
So you'd hate if you audited my wardrobe just now. I think I'm the antithesis of fashion at the moment. I would buy it because it fitted, not because it looked good. So I mean, okay, when you're looking at guys, and you're working with them, do you just get them to go for this new identity, or do you mold it into the current look and gradually build it up? Should we just go for broke, so to speak, or should we just take where we currently are and just start tweaking it to start working towards this, or should we just be open to this new identity and try it?
Oh, I definitely encourage them to be more open to the new sort of vision or new identity they've established. And once again, it is situational. So a lot of guys are closer to their end goal than they might think they are, and other guys are much further off, and those are the ones that require a bit more encouraging in terms of getting to that end goal. But I'm open to it. It really does vary on each guy, and I would adjust it depending on the situation. Just like I said earlier, there isn't like a one size fits all approach to style, and it has to be it's personalized, right, to each individual and how they want to approach it.
And something that I have certainly noticed, and I'm probably not the only person, but when we're sort of upgrading our fashion, say if you've gone from wearing a t-shirt and a jumper to the office to suddenly wearing a shirt to wearing maybe dress shoes. There's a lot of extra work there. There's a lot of extra prep. There's a better, like, you have to iron it in certain ways. You have to polish your shoes. You maybe have to get a lint roller to take off the fluff and all these kind of things. Have you found, is there any hacks or products that you recommend to make the clothes maintenance and preparation side easier?
Yeah, definitely planning your outfits ahead of time is a big one. So, most guys are going to have their schedule a week or 2 weeks in advance, and what to expect, whether it be their work schedule or meetings or presentations or socializing with friends or parties, whatever it might be. Assuming that you have those planned out already in advance, it's much easier to, or you're going to save a lot of time actually by having your outfits prepared ahead of that. So I always recommend, planning out the outfits ahead of time and just do all the prep work in one sort of shot and just get it all out of the way, so you're not scrambling in the morning trying to figure it out, waking up and looking for that shirt and then having to iron it and then sprinting at the door without having a proper breakfast or something. It's just much easier to have it all planned out. I would say that at the very least a day in advance. Ideally, you have it 3 to 4 or 5 days in advance. You have your outfits planned out with coordinated with how your week's looking, basically.
I think, it sounds like you've spoken to my mum. This is what the kind of advice that she gives me, is to be better organized and to plan and to batch process the ironing and stuff like that. And I think as a guy, we kind of just roll out of bed and go, oh yeah, that'll do. We we have to get out of this mindset of, it's a shirt into actually, how does it fit? How does it look? Does it give off the right image? And does it attract the opposite sex or your choice of sex? I think we forget what, we just look at it as clothes, whereas to women and people like yourself who understand this better, you realize the story and the assumptions it makes other people give. And I think we're very late to this party, a lot of guys who have never understood the benefits that fashion and improvement in style can bring. So this is why I'm so glad for the likes of yourself. So could you give an example of how you'd work with a client, going shopping for new items? Do you give them a list of things to try, or do they go away, pick it up, and then send you a picture of what they bought? Or, how does that sort of thing work?
Yeah, so when I work with them in person, face to face, I after the wardrobe audit, have an idea of what's missing or what they currently own. So that makes it much easier when we actually get together for the shopping aspect of things. And so what that does, it gives me a chance to basically create a list of my own. Like I said, I take their lifestyle and their end goal into consideration when I'm doing this, but and their budgets as well. That's a big part of it. And so what I'll do prior to meeting, I'll get to the mall or wherever it is that we're going about an hour ahead of time, and that way I can plan it all out, pull it all, set it aside, and have it ready for them to go. So when we do meet up, we can basically hit the ground running, and they can try everything and keep what they like and leave aside what they don't.
So how do you work with somebody to know that the item that they've picked, is maybe portrays the authentic self? Because like when I first started wearing shirts, I felt weird because I felt like I was trying too hard, but slowly it fitted into that was me. I liked the way it made me feel. I liked the way I kind of held myself better when I was putting the effort in. So, how do we know we're not just acclimatizing to it, but it's actually authentic to us as a person rather than, oh, well, my mate's wearing one, I've got to get one?
Yeah, it's a good, I think it's a good question, actually. I would say, it has to feel authentic to the person. And if it feels like you're forcing it, then that's usually a sign that, it's being done for the right reason, the wrong reasons, I should say. So what do I mean by that? Basically, as you know, there's a ton of different genres of men's men's style out there, and there's a few different ways you can approach it, and there isn't really a right or wrong way, but there are certain styles that speak to certain personalities more than they do others. A great example I think would be someone wearing, a big trend we were seeing a couple of years ago was jogger pants with the longer t-shirts, and a bunch of accessories, and fedoras and that kind of thing, with some Chelsea boots or something, and it looked great on a lot of guys, and worked really well for them, and it was really trendy, which is we don't see a lot of it anymore, which that's another problem with trends, is it comes and goes, but that look suited a certain type of guy. Maybe it was a creative, musician type of guy, whereas someone who's working in, as an engineer or IT or something, who's maybe a bit more introverted, might not be as naturally suited for a look that's quite as, I guess you could say, outside of the box like that. So I think in terms of knowing what works for you and what doesn't, it really does come down to whether it feels like you're forcing it or not, and ultimately your body language is gonna reflect that, whether a person realizes it or not. It can show how comfortable or uncomfortable a person is, and in the initial stages, there definitely will be some discomfort in terms of stepping out of your comfort zone when it comes to style, and experimenting a little bit, and there's going to be some mistakes made, but through those mistakes, I think you'll get some great feedback in terms of what works for your personality and your lifestyle, and what doesn't.
And you did mention earlier on about your own transformation, where you started going to the gym, you started looking at your complexion and that sort of thing. So what else should you do? What else do you do with your clients? Do you put them on a training program, for example, if they want to get more muscular? Do you help them with fat loss? Do you help them with skin care, how to style their hair? What other things or challenges should guys who are undertaking on this fashion journey start looking at? Should we be drinking more water? Should we be making sure we have breakfast? How else can we start buoying up this transformation?
Yeah, that's a big part of it for sure. Is the grooming and the nutrition side of things. In terms of fitness, that's not something I'm fully exploring yet. It's definitely a part of the whole sort of lifestyle shift. I've had clients come to me who don't feel like they're at their ideal weight, and they're looking to lose 10, 15, 20 more pounds before they feel like they're comfortable with where they're at. But so aside from that, I don't focus too much on the fitness side of things. The main focus is definitely the style, the grooming, and even a little bit of the mindset as well. So I will go as far as recommending barbers and getting in touch with other barbers that would suit the the styles that my clients would be looking for. And then grooming is another huge aspect of it as well. I think skincare and just taking care of yourself in general is something a lot of guys overlook, and it's one of the first things that people notice too, is how well someone takes care of themselves. So that could be anything from how well maintained their facial, their body hair is, and even the nails, how clean or how long, how dirty. These are all details that I think people notice without realizing it, and I think it it can make a big difference in terms of how you're perceived, whether it be in in the office, or if you're out socializing. People will pay attention to these details and draw conclusions about a person, whether they realize it or not, based on how how much attention they put into detail, and how clean or how well groomed they can be.
And the people who I mean, I just love your answers. They're so well thought out, and there's so many aspects to this that a lot of guys don't even consider, and that's why I think it's really important that they work with somebody like yourself, who's not just there to make a quick buck. You're there to actually help people, do the same kind of transformation that you've made. So, how do we avoid becoming superficial and worrying just about the clothes? How do we make it sure that we're developing as a person as much as developing a wardrobe?
Yeah, that's actually a great way to look at it. Is it it's the clothes, I think, is maybe the starting point of looking and feeling a certain way. I think the fine line comes when we're getting too caught up in labels or doing it for the wrong reasons. So like maybe dressing in a certain way just to get attention, and that becomes a source of validation, which ultimately is driven by insecurity, right? You're looking for validation from an outside source rather than from yourself. I think style ultimately comes down to expressing, who you are as an individual without having to seek it from outside. So the fine line, I think it is really easy to get caught up in the designer labels and this and that, and being on top of trends and having to replace your clothes all the time. I was stuck in that pattern for a little bit when I first started out, and then I came to realize it wasn't as important as it actually is. What really does matter is getting past that and having that that clear mindset. It really does come down to like your self-talk and how you really feel deep down inside it. Style is like I mentioned before, it's a great foot in the door, and it's also an awesome way to sort of boost your morale if maybe if you're having a bad day, or if you have an important meeting or something and you want to look your best. It you definitely carry yourself in a different way than you would if you were to say throw on a pair of sweats and a hoodie, for example, and some beat up old sneakers. It's a lot deeper than just looking a certain way. I think it really does come down to feeling and addressing whatever it is that might be holding someone back.
Yeah, I mean, I love that kind of answer. And you mentioned earlier about the negative comments that those school kids made. How can guys listening who want to start dressing better but are worried about, because we've all got those arsehole friends who maybe will comment or, they'll try to stop you changing. How do we deal with that negativity? Because you're definitely going to have something in a comment or somebody looking at you weirdly on the bus or whatever. How do we overcome that and just keep this journey going?
Yeah, it's definitely not easy at first. I'm gonna I want to go on the record saying that it's it's challenging to get out of your comfort zone, and when you start doing it, it's gonna feel like the whole world is watching you at times. But one of the best pieces of advice a friend gave to me a few years ago was that those typically aren't the people that are going to help you get to where you want to be. As harsh as that might sound, and it's definitely not easy, trying to set yourself aside from these negative type of people in your life. But as many of us have heard before, we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So if it feels like you're stuck, or if you're frustrated with where you're at in life, or if you're destined for greater things, whether it be in your appearance or in your career, whatever it is, I think it really does come down to who you surround yourself with, and the negative comments, maybe they won't be as much in your face or so obvious all the time. Maybe it's a quick remark, or you have a buddy who is taking shots at you jokingly. That usually comes from a place of he's trying to keep you down, and who knows what's really driving that from within that person. Maybe it's some sort of thoughts of insecurity of you're bettering yourself to be be a certain way, and there could be a part of him that's afraid of losing you as a friend, or maybe whoever is taking these shots is maybe it's triggering something within themselves that they they need to address. Maybe since you have that courage to step out and change up your style, or take some sort of risk, and then they might not have it, and what's being triggered is those feelings of you're taking that risk, and it's triggering some sort of negative reaction with him, which results in making those jokes or those comments about what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean that's the way I really like to look at it. It's a lot of times they want to beat you down because it's easier for them than having to address their own, where they are in life, having to address their own transformation, or it means they can stay in the same comfort zone. They don't need to think, oh well, he's doing it. Okay, he's cut out all the bullshit because he's a friend of mine. Because they can make excuses for, the guy in the magazines maybe had a better schooling, or he's a better looking, or X, Y, Z, Whereas if they see their friends doing it, then suddenly that cuts out all of that, and they have to start addressing their own self and where they are and maybe where they wanted to go. So it's easier, it's like the crabs in the bucket. They'll pull each other back in rather than try to get out as well. And I think we struggle as guys. We don't want to be the person that stands out in the group that maybe takes all the pop shots, but we also don't want to be the person. We don't want to let other people do it because we don't want to feel left out. It's a weird, we need to get out of this and be our own selves and be friends, rather than feeding our validation from the group. So, I mean, we've been speaking for over an hour now, and it feels literally like 10 minutes. I think we've barely scratched the surface, and there's so much more to this, but I want to find out a bit more about you. So, have you got a favorite podcast
besides this one?
Well, apart from this one, obviously.
There's a few. I was listening to Lewis House's podcast for quite some time, the School of Greatness.
I'll pretend you said Next Level Guy there. So I mean,
of course, this one as well. Your interview with Diamond Dallas Page. I believe was that last year.
Yeah, that was last year. Yeah.
Last year, that one was one that really caught my attention, and of course the one with Mike as well, who's a close friend of mine. I loved Diamond Dallas Page. I think I might have mentioned that in the email I sent. Growing up watching wrestling and being a fan and seeing the transition he's made into yoga and doing all of that after retiring from the ring.
I mean, that was
pretty cool to hear.
When I met him, he came to do a DDP yoga workshop, and he was just so authentic. It wasn't just, I can sell this as a product. It was, he genuinely cared about each person. You could feel the energy from him. He took his time to work around the room and say hi to everybody. It's like yourself. You can genuinely feel the passion and the authentic care and love that you put into your products. So how have you found the transition from having an interest in fashion to running a business and building a brand from it?
It's been amazing. Like, with anything, with building a brand or building a business, it definitely comes with its challenges. But when you're working on something that you really enjoy doing, it makes it that much easier. You're that much more motivated to get through whatever those challenges might be. But it's been amazing. I think anyone who's listening and is thinking about starting their own business, their own brand. It's, I've heard many experts like Steve Jobs and a few other, high level guys like that say if you're going to do something, it might as well be doing something that you love. And that's exactly what, what Street Gentleman and image consulting has been for me is, something that I deeply love and, from deep within inside of me. And I just, I envision myself doing it for years and years to come.
So if we had to ask for a guilty pleasure of yours, do you have like a stained t-shirt and jogging trousers that you put on when you get home? Do you take the blazers and the polished shoes off and just throw on the old trainers? Or, what's a guilty pleasure that you can admit to?
It's definitely eating ice cream for sure. That's a big one.
Oh, you got a certain brand that you go to?
It varies. There's a few local boutiques here, and Dairy Queen's always good too. But I have a sweet tooth, so I'm definitely a sucker for that. And then in terms of my style, when I get home and I know I'm done for the day, I always just throw on a comfy pair of sweats or some shorts and a t-shirt, and it's very, very casual. So what I portray through my online channels is one thing, and not to say that it's artificial or anything like that. That still is very much a reflection of myself and what feels right to me. But then when I get home, I think it's also important for us, for anyone, to feel comfortable and be able to find that balance and be able to unwind and just put yourself at ease after a long day.
But I mean, that's also being authentic, that you want to feel comfortable in your home. It's the image that you're portraying when you go out, whereas you're portraying who you are, a comfortable person wanting to be comfortable in your home. So it's something I struggled with, was accepting that about myself, was that, I could dress a bit slobbish when I was home, but, when you go out, you can style yourself up, and it's perfectly acceptable to have the two conflicting sort of views running together. So I can probably tell what this is going to be, but what's your favorite purchase for under $100?
Under $100. That's a great question. Under $100. Yeah, that could be it for sure. Actually, the watch I'm wearing right now, I paid exactly $100 for it. And I bought it. It's about 3, maybe 4 years ago, and it's just a simple gold Vestal watch. And I chose it because of that. It's just timeless, and it goes really well with pretty much every single outfit that I wear. And that's exactly why I picked it. Is that I was looking for a watch at that time that was reasonably priced, and one would just go with pretty much whatever it is that you're wearing that day without having to think about it.
So, I mean, that was something I was thinking of going into, was like accessories. Is there things that no guy should wear, or is there like, should all guys wear a watch and that's it, and maybe a wedding ring? Or what's your take on accessories? Are they useful for people who have maybe a uniform to work and think, well, I can wear a band and that'll maybe make me a bit more unique, or a chain or something like that?
It definitely comes down to the individual personality again. I know I have friends that love wearing rings and all that type of stuff, and necklaces. For me, I don't really like too much on my hands, which, at the end of the day, it's just a personal preference. But I think, watch is, it's always an essential piece. And the argument I hear against it is always that we always have our cell phones or our smartphones with us, and so we could just check our time on there. But I don't know, there's something classic and timeless and gentlemanly about wearing a watch, and it's something that you can always wear. It's never going to go to style. Then when it comes to accessorizing in general, I would definitely say keep it simple, and just avoid overdoing it. Otherwise, it's going to look too busy and almost like you're trying too hard, and then there isn't a clear place to focus, I guess I should say, in terms of what accessories you really want to stand out. When it's too busy, it's almost like you're looking at everything, and nothing really stands out in that case.
So here's my favorite question. You've got you're having a dinner party. You've got 5 other spaces available, and you can invite whoever you want. So this is your dream dinner party. They can be real or fake people. They can be alive or dead, but it's a dinner party that, once in a lifetime. Who do you invite?
Kobe Bryant, for sure. Kobe Bryant, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, Kevin Hart, Oprah Winfrey. One more. Tough choice. Oh man, there's so many good people to choose from. Let's say my grandma. So my grandma is the fifth guess.
I mean, that would be an epic dinner party. I've had some crackers, but I mean, I'm sure that if we analysed each of them, there'd be a reason for it and stuff like that. But that's why I like this podcast, is I get to speak to the guests, but I also like to find out more about them, because you've probably seen it yourself. It's somebody's got a book out and you could change the name at the top of the show and it's the same answers over and over again. And I want people to listen and go, I really learned something from that. But I want to find out more about the guests and go to them as much as they want, to become a fan of me, because I know what it's like when, people kind of go, oh, you haven't got 100,000 listeners. Well, there's no point dealing, it's you see the people who are doing it for love of the project they're doing, who are happy to come and be interviewed or come on your show or speak to you on the show. It's those people who are just out to make money, and that it's sad, but I mean it was really good. This is why I think you'll do so well, is that you're authentic, you genuinely care about people. And every time I've seen you in a show or an interview, you're not just looking at the clothes, you're looking at the person and how you can make them better. And I think you should probably be thankful to those guys. I mean, I was bullied when I was younger, and I thank them now for the emotional pain and all that, because it made me want better from life, and I think it really helped you, and now you're changing lives. And it must be really good to kind of have that feeling that you're helping these guys advance in their career or become more confident or overcome emotional baggage or restart after divorce. So what do you want people listening to take from this interview? Is there a go home message, or is there something you want them to go to try? Well, apart from checking out your site, obviously.
Yeah, streetgentleman.com. But yeah, the take home message for sure is that it's not going to be easy making the change, whatever it might be, in terms of if you're getting to the gym or if you're looking to change up your style. It's going to come with its challenges in the early stages, and being okay with that. I don't think anyone's figured out something like a new skill or something in their first few tries. It really does come with a lot of trial and error, and being patient and trusting the process, and staying persistent too. It's it can be discouraging at times, and maybe you'll take a risk and it won't pay off, and maybe you'll feel maybe foolish or be made fun of or something. Don't let that discourage you. I really encourage you to dig deep and keep sticking with it until it's where you envision yourself being, and I promise you it's going to be worth it in the end.
So my second last question is what is probably my favorite, actually. I love asking this because I think it really it makes the guest really authentic. So what's an unusual fact about yourself that you think anyone hearing kind of is pretty blown away by it? Is there something that you maybe learned as a child, or a unique fact about yourself that people are really surprised by?
It could be, well, so my first language growing up was I learned Hindi, and of course I'm fluent in English as well. My Hindi is a bit rusty, but I understand it and can speak it decently. I wouldn't say great, but decently. And so my goal is to be trilingual. So I've been working on my Spanish as well. It's not something I really talk about, probably because I'm not very good with my Spanish. But my goal is to be trilingual within the next year to 2 years.
I mean, I'm always really envious of anybody that can speak another language. It shows a certain like intelligence, because have you ever seen Kevin Fitmen Cook? Like he has a great site, and I think his name's Kevin Curry, and he does his videos where he'll speak in English for the first half, and then he'll do the exact same video but say it in Spanish, and
Oh, cool.
it's so impressive. So you should check him out. I think it's Fit Men Cooks, and he does a lot of like better diet, better like how to meal prep and all these kind of things, and how to make chicken not taste bland and all these kind of things. So
Right.
you should maybe watch his videos, and it'll help you, sort of pick it up. I'm always really envious of people that can speak other languages. Did you find it difficult to go from Hindi to English, or was it something you were taught at school?
I definitely remember in the early, maybe the first few weeks of school, it was really challenging, and I was kind of quiet, because we were speaking so much Hindi at home and not so much English. But I do remember, especially when you're a kid, your mind is so spongy, so you pick it up pretty quick. But I definitely remember it being difficult in the early days for sure. But thankfully I was surrounded by everyone who was English speaking and very friendly and open, and so I was able to pick it up pretty quickly, I like to think.
And I mean, you just mentioned there about people being spongy. How do we help kids become better stylish? How do we raise the next generation to be a bit more open into style and fashion? Is this something that we can really help them with, or do we have to just let it let their personality come out and then let them find the fashion and style that shows that to the world?
Yeah, I definitely think letting their personality come out within a certain set of guidelines, to maybe educating them on the importance of style and why it matters to present themselves in a certain way without being materialistic. Like we talked about earlier, being taken seriously in the workplace, or because of the snap judgments people make. I think educating kids on those important aspects of it will help them, pay more attention to it, without restricting them to what they can and can't wear, which that would translate into their personality shining through too, instead of being just a bunch of drones.
Well, to be honest, I think we've barely touched the surface, and I've got literally thousands of questions. So I really want to have you back on. We can look at doing something together. You can maybe even help me get my wardrobe half decent, because I think that you're going to be a mega star in this industry. I cannot say thank you enough for this. So if somebody's listening and they want to find out more about you, find out the projects you're working on, work with you, maybe even if it's distant from a remote location, can you, how can we find you? How can they get in touch? Social media, that sort of thing?
Yeah, the best is you go to my website, streetgentleman.com. That's MEN.com. It's going to have all my information on there. And if you're looking to email me, it's Sunjeev, SUNJEEV @streetgentleman.com. And then it's also Street Gentleman on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Well, I really cannot say thank you enough for this. It's something I've struggled with, and I always love seeing transformation stories like this. And I've really learned a lot from speaking to you about this. I never thought I'd be interested in fashion, so you've worked wonders here. So the floor is open to yourself. If you've got anything upcoming, any projects or anything else you'd like to add.
What's going on? That's pretty much it. I think, I want to say thank you, Ian, for having me on as well. And I think it's been awesome chatting with you this whole time. And it's been a lot of fun. Most of my attention is on the website right now, and creating content and helping more men tap into their full potential at the end of the day. Positively impacting, empowering them is the mission statement. So that's the main focus right now is Street Gentleman, the consulting side of things, and that's basically it. So I just want to say thank you again for having me on the Next Level Guy Show.
That's it for another week. Thanks for listening. Absorb it, practice it, use it. Until next time, keep trying to hit that next level in your life.